As always, I will present you what I liked and what I didn't like about this book, because of course I have no mercy even with my colleagues. Let's face it, one of the biggest issues with books is that people don't read. Our cognitive system is getting more and more used to fast and quick responses, reactions, rewards, and books are usually not giving you that kind of stimulation. But I think that Kevin Roet with Climbing Psychology did a terrific job. Among all the books that I have read on sport psychology applied to climbing, this is the one that you will read from start to end. Kevin Roet started off as a climbing and mountaineering instructor, but soon realized that sports psychology played a huge role in climbers' life, in premise, fear of falling. Therefore, he also became a mental coach and have been holding workshops on sports psychology applied to climbing for 8 years now. Kevin and I, with professional climber Emma Twyford, also are the co-founders of the mental coaching service Climb Flow. Of course, since Kevin is my co-worker, I have a personal interest in making a good image for him, but it's not like I am going to present positively this book because I'm working with him. I am working with him because I liked his book. As always, I will present you what I liked and what I didn't like about this book, because of course I have no mercy even with my colleagues. I already said it, but I really love Kevin's storytelling. The writing is clear, direct, very easy to read and understand. And it's not about how his mindset allowed him to do incredible things. No, of course you will find stories from professional climbers as well, but it's mostly about everyday life experience in the life of a climber, which are very relatable for the average climber. Among other things, you will find literary references, Zen stories, but also case studies, personal experiences, of course, and so much more. And this is definitely connected with the second point. The second thing that I really liked is that this book is absolutely not toxic. Despite the subtitle that refers to optimal performance, since the first page you can see that there's absolutely no pressure, no push on improving performance, but it's mostly about how to improve your relationship with climbing so that it can be healthier. Of course, you will have as a secondary outcome to perform better. That is always the case, but it's very healthy and positive. It's very, very refreshing. There are very few books that have this perspective when reading about sports psychology, and it's very refreshing. Okay, next point. So this book has everything, really, basically almost everything that you need to know about sports psychology. It covers a wide variety of topics, and as I said in the previous video, Mastermind lacked on any parts, basically on fear of falling. Kevin dedicates a whole chapter to it. And not only there are a lot of exercises, there are also QR codes so that you can see the videos of how you're supposed to do these exercises. Then scientifically, it's very solid. Most of the research that he is providing to support the theories that he is presenting are backed up by the scientific community. So most of the studies have been replicated and are widely accepted by the scientific community. So it's something that you can trust. There's one, let's say, negative point that I want to do about this, but I would put it with the other negative comments that I have. It also incorporates techniques by the most influential line of psychological interventions, which is cognitive behavioral therapy and third wave techniques. And I was very surprised and pleased about how well they are incorporated in each chapters. In fact, the book is full of exercises, and I really liked how each chapters are linked with each other. It's not a mere list of capacities, skills, and exercises. It provides a complex and rich perspective on how the cognitive system is working. Then I really love that there is even a section on the climbing relationship. And this is such an overlooked aspect in climbing. It's probably almost unique in this kind of literature, and it's very good stuff. Finally, I also enjoyed the last chapter, that is, what climbing character are you? And I found the idea very cute. Okay, let's get into the things that I didn't like. So Kevin is very fascinated by neuroscience. He will present the study that showed this, a study that showed that. But unfortunately, neuroscience in most cases lacks of external validity. This means that most of these studies come from over-selected participants, and in most cases also an extremely small sample size. Most cases are around 20 participants. And trust me, I say this because I was working in neuroscience before, and I decided to move to decision making because of this specific region. So, for example, in one chapter, he is talking about how different people may be more sensible to cortisol. And he says, studies have shown that early childhood trauma can affect the size of the amygdala, the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, among a few. I mention this because some people are more sensitive to situations where higher cortisol and adrenaline levels are produced. However, there is very little consensus about the impact of trauma on brain development. Meta-analysis has shown very big inconsistencies between the results of different studies and a high heterogeneity in the differences between subjects. Not to mention that most of the studies use subjects that have very complex traumas that go from substance abuse, severe neglect, sexual abuse, and so on. I'm not saying that he is providing some false information, which sometimes happened in Mastermind. I'm saying that when you give this kind of information with this little context about the research and where there is so little consensus, it may be sometimes a bit not very useful or even deceiving to give this kind of information. So please don't take this comment as saying that everything that he's talking about in neuroscience is false or over-exaggerated. This is not what I'm saying. For example, all the things that he's saying about how the brain works, how the stress response works, and so on, I could and backed up by the scientific consensus. I'm saying that when you see conclusions, strong conclusions from single studies, these may not be as strong as a claim, so just be a bit critical about these. Nothing else. Next point. When he is talking about fear, he is referring to the rationality-irrationality approach of fear, which I don't really embrace. I've talked about it already, why I don't really like this approach. I work every day with rationality and irrationality in my work as a researcher, and it's very, very hard to pinpoint when a process, not the outcome, when a process is rational or irrational. So if you're interested in this, check the link in the description, you will see something around there. Last point, I said that I like the chapter on climbing characters. It tells you about the different mindsets that you can have on climbing and how to improve them, right? With a lot of exercises and games too. Well, there are only negative characters, negative, let's say, stereotypes. And if I could make a suggestion, I would have added like some kind of positive mindset that of course can still be improved. For example, the always try hard climber. And of course, trying hard all the time is not really useful. So maybe something like that could have been added. And that was it. I really think that climbing psychology is an excellent resource for everyone who's willing to improve their mind game and well-being with climbing. And despite there are some minor flaws, I find that this is a very well-written book, very comprehensive of all the aspects that you want to study when thinking about sports psychology, and full of exercises that can help climbers of all levels. Let me know if you read it. I'll see you in the next video. Stay psyched.